So I was born and raised in Kisii, Kenya, and then I finished class 8 in Kisii Primary School. I then went on to Loreto Limuru for my high school. After Loreto High School, I was really lucky to get a scholarship to the United World College of the Atlantic. It's called UWC Atlantic, and it's an international high school in the UK for 5th and 6th form. While at the UWC Atlantic, I got a subsequent scholarship to Cornell University in the US, where I studied government and international relations for my bachelor's, and I got a back-to-back master's in public affairs. So that was my first set of degrees that's the pathway of my education until my first set of degrees. So Kisii Primary School, Loreto High School, Limuru, after which I got a scholarship to the United World College of the Atlantic for my international baccalaureate. From there, I got a scholarship to Cornell University in the US. There I did a bachelor's in government, which is another name for political science, with a concentration in international relations. And then I did a master's in public affairs. After that, I worked for a few years, and then I went to Oxford for a master's in African studies and a doctorate in politics. That's my education. Initially, when I left Loreto to go to the UWC Atlantic, what surprised me is how well prepared I was for a rigorous education. One gets the impression that the Kenyan education system just isn't rigorous enough, and that's not true. I was very suited for the rigor of the education, and I was able to not only excel in classwork but also do a lot of other leadership activities that are necessary when you're then applying on for university in the US. I found it to be true as well in the US that a Kenyan educated through the Kenyan system student entering a top US university like Cornell is absolutely well prepared. The kids in my class had not studied Shakespeare. In Loreto Limuru, I had. So I find that one of the biggest myths that is really worth dispelling is that we get a really good education. And I found that it served me very well. How did I fit in? With some difficulty, because I think coming from a convent school, high school, girls only, into a co-ed setting, which is what the United World College of the Atlantic was, where there is no Christianity or religion as a guide as to what behavior is acceptable and what's not, where there were students from 80, 90 countries. That was very different. And it was a moment to find myself, but also to gain pride in who I was, because when you're Kenyan, everyone around you is Kenyan until you go to a place where there's only two of you and everybody else is from everywhere else, and then you realize that there is just so much to be proud of. So it was a moment of self-discovery for me. I found Cornell to be similar. It was a much, much bigger place than my high school in the UK, and I found an international community, and I lived somewhere called International Living Centers. Then my identity was as an international student as opposed to an American student, and that was a wonderful experience. Cornell does a very good job. It has everything you can imagine. I was able to take advantage of so many activities they had. One of the things that I did while in Cornell was to start global AIDS advocacy platform for young people to advocate for inclusion in HIV/AIDS programs and policies. And that took me everywhere where young people were not, but where they should be, in order to make the case that nothing about us without us, which is a phrase you hear very commonly around the women's movement when women are wanting to participate and to be around the table as equals. That was a moment when for HIV we needed young people to be equals because they were the ones driving the pandemic, and Cornell gave me the space and the resources to do that. At the end of my first degree in Cornell, which I finished in 3 years, Cornell gave me, I continued with my master's in public affairs in Cornell. I had actually applied at the end of that first degree, the first 3 years, I applied for a master's in public health, an MPH program at the Harvard School of Public Health, because I was doing a lot of health activism and global health work. And they gave me an offer, which I was really excited about, because I thought the way to work with competence and with credibility in global health would be by having a degree in global health. They gave me an offer, but they gave me no money.